Well, all I can say is I love Mexico. Today is a solid day trading in Mexico, up $47,610.46, green on two out of the three stocks I traded. The momentum is just amazing right now. We are seeing such good action. Now, I don't know how long it's going to last, but I was excited to show up today. I was ready to trade. I've got my laptop. I've got one external monitor. I'm going to upload a traveling trading station video shortly that you guys can check out for this trip. But in any case, let's go ahead and dive into it. First trade of the day, EVOK. All right, we're going to get started here. This is actually the stock that I am up the most on, $25,315.95. I should probably say my results are not typical. I've been doing this for a very long time, and that's what gives me the intuition to know that this is the time to pedal to the metal, lean in, and get aggressive. And I did on EVOK. So this morning when I first sat down around 6:45, I was kind of like, well, I don't know if I like anything. HCTI was our leading gapper at that time, but it's a little cheaper. I kind of continued the move from Friday, which we talked about in the Sunday watch list. But it's not my favorite setup at that price range to do, continuation over the weekend. So I just felt like, I just don't think it's going to be worth trying to trade. So I ended up leaving HCTI alone, and I'm sitting here at 7 a.m. top of the hour, and all of a sudden EVOK is hitting my scanners. So EVOK hits my scans, and I pulled this up, and let me just pull this up over here as well. So we had a headline that came out this morning. Rockets 90% on study of Jamodi in GLP-1 users. So, this is one of these headlines. It's a biotech company, and basically it instantly skyrockets. My first trade on this, so when I first sat down, I was in my margin account. I have two accounts at Lightspeed. One is a traditional margin account and one is a retirement account. So I forgot to switch, oops, I forgot to switch to my retirement account. So my first trade, I jumped in my margin account and I got in, let's see, I bought 1,000 shares at $7.56 and 56 cents, and I sold it at $7.68. It was just like instantaneous dollar a share. The problem is, I set a max position size on that account because I really don't want to inadvertently make $47,000 in that account and then realize, wait a second, I'm going to have income tax on it. So I immediately hit my max share size, which is why I only got filled 1,000 shares. I used my hotkey to buy, and I put out 5 buy orders, but I filled one and then the rest of them auto canceled because I exceeded my max position size. So that was this first spike right here. Now the reason I jumped in it that quickly, number one, it was moving fast. It had just gone from 5 to 6 to 7, so I got in at 750. It goes immediately to 850 up to a high of 9, peaks at 976. Then it drops back down to a low of 741, bounces back up right here, and this is where we start to get some action. So, and of course, this continues all the way up to a high of $17 a share. So I quickly switched from my retirement account or from my margin account to my retirement account. And then I'm like, all right, it's time to trade. So in this account, I jump in at 852. So I'm getting in a little bit higher. And that was, let's see, that was right here. So we have this little dip. So I got in right here in my main account, 852. And it ends up going back up to 9, goes up to a high right here. It peaks at, was this $10? It was 10.05. Yeah, it goes up there. And anyway, so I'm in at 850. This time I take 4,500 shares. I get out at 9. I get back in at 930. I add at 960. I take profit at 10. Now I'm adding back at 1050 as it pulls away right here. It goes up to a high of, let's see, 1106 right there. So now I'm just actively trading it. I'm buying the dips, adding into the highs, taking profit, adding back, taking profit, adding back, taking profit. We dip down here. This I didn't expect. That was amazing squeeze here. It goes from 10 straight up to 14. As it broke through the high right there, I jumped back in, kind of like right in here. I didn't get a good entry on this dip. I wish I had, but I didn't. I just didn't. It was pulling back at that time a little too much, and I just thought, this just doesn't feel like it's gonna. I just don't know if it's gonna work. So, anyways, so where did I add? So I added on that at 1189, 1199, and then I added at 1389 and 1383, and I took some profit at 1403 and 1386. So it's like $2 a share practically. And that was on about 5,000 shares. So in all of these trades right in this area, up to this peak, my max position was 5,000 shares because I have my 5,000 share cap until I'm up over $1,000. Now it happened so fast, I didn't have time to go in, and it just takes a second. I go into settings, I go over to trading, and I change my warnings to, I just change it from 5,000, just add a zero and change to 50,000. So it only takes that long, but you got to do it real quick. Click OK, and then you're good to go. So anyway, this whole move right here, I made $27,000 with max position of 5,000 shares. It's really solid, super solid. Just considering it went from 6 to 17. Now, in hindsight, had I been at home on my home trading station, maybe I would have been able to quickly size up a little faster. Because I'm traveling, I didn't want to be overly aggressive and then, just, I don't know, lose internet or something just happens and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in this with 15,000 shares and it's down $3 a share and I can't believe what I've done. So I just decided to take it a little bit slower, but nonetheless made $27,000 on those first trades. So that was between 710 and about 721. Now it ends up pulling back, and my last trade on it was right here. I took this trade right here. It pulled back, and I bought right here, and then it rejected, and I gave back $2,000 off the top. So anyways, and then that was my last trade on it, and it's pulled back since the open, which is a little bit disappointing, but we got some nice trades on it pre-market off of breaking news. This stock met all 5 criteria of stock selection. I'll put the link in the description for this episode as well in case you haven't checked it out. So perfectly met all 5 criteria. The only sort of issue was that it got a little too expensive pretty quick. I prefer under 10. And this went from, 6 to 8 to 10 like so fast. Next thing you know, it's 11, 12. It's kind of expensive. So that was EVOK. And we'll talk about GLU and GNLN in a minute. But the next stock I traded was AMIX. So then AMIX hits the scanners, and you can see on this one I'm up $22,000. So this stock hits our scanners pre-market. It also has news. Float on this less than 1 million shares, and this one pretty much instantly goes from it was like $9 up to 13. So in this area here, I made 6,000. I lost 3,000 and I didn't get back in. So I made money, I gave back what I made, and then it drops down. So I was up about 3,000 on it as of right here. And then when it starts to pull away, I was like, okay, now I'm interested in this to see what it does. So as it started to pull away here, I was trading it on these pullbacks, and that ended up adding about $20,000 of profit. So that one I was trading with a little bit bigger size, 7,500 shares, 8,500, 9,500 shares. So taking 5,000 shares, but then adding as it was pushing higher and pulling away. And, we ended up having this move, which was solid. I was a little bit unsure if it was going to work because we had this high day candle that was red. EVOK actually had a somewhat similar problem where on the 5-minute there was a red candle, which I didn't really like so much. Let's see. Let me just look for that candle. So that was on, oh, it was right here. It was this candle right here on EVOK that I was like, kind of nasty rejection. So anyways, AMIX, it pulled away pretty nicely. I feel like I could have done a little bit better on it, but anyways, it goes all the way up into the open. It halts up, And I didn't take that final trade. So I didn't take this last trade going into the halt up. I just kind of was like, I'm not sure. Anyways, halts up, opens, halts down. So maybe could have done more on that, but the MACD had gone negative here. So that was sort of telling me to sit on the sidelines, even though this was going higher. It was a little bit of a divergence, which I wasn't feeling super comfortable with. So all right, so that was AMIX, and then the third stock I traded was SPGC. So another issue with AMIX, by the way, was that it got a little too expensive really fast. Immediately, it went from $8 to 12, and now it's like we're dealing with bigger spreads, higher price, right? So I was like, I don't know, this is going to be a little tricky. I think we need something that's a little cheaper. So then when SPGC hits my scanners, I'm like, this is perfect. SPGC, it's got a sub 1 million share float, it's got news, and it's like $3 a share. So I thought this one really made a lot of sense. Now I jumped in it at $3, 3.15, and you see, look, it goes up to about 3.80 and then immediately comes back down. So stopped out of that, took the loss on it, and was like, well, I guess I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure why that one didn't continue higher. It had news out that seemed decent, but I guess look, they don't always work for whatever reason. So it's just important to cut your losses quickly. Now, in the meantime, GLUE made a pretty nice move today, and I kind of wrote it off pre-market. It popped up. I said, no, at 7 a.m. The float's 30 million shares. The stock is easy to borrow. It's probably going to be harder to trade. So you could see easy to borrow right there. It's not on short sale restriction, and yet it's up 124%. So, this one as the day has gone on has been grinding higher. It's obviously made a nice move all the way up to 12, and I've got nothing to show for it. Was that the right move to sit it out? Well, I think at the beginning of the day it was. Popped and dropped, and then just as the day went on, it got a little bit of a bid. It got some momentum, and then it broke out of this range, but it popped up, it flushed down, then it pulled away, and then this was an area of a bunch of topping tails. So I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, I'd like to say I could have made money if I had traded that, but maybe I would have lost on it. Maybe it would have been too choppy. So that was glue. GNLN, this one's up 107%. So another one, 49 million shares of volume. AMIX, 17 million shares. EVOK, 19 million shares. So kind of interesting. GNLN being a little cheaper and the momentum being sort of during trading hours, a lot more volume, but also a little bit thickly traded, a lot of these topping tails. HCTI, 135 million shares of volume. So that's got a ton of volume. But you know what? I think I did pretty well today. All things considered, being at $47,000 on the day, this month of October has completely blown away any expectations that I had for the month. I just did not see this coming. I really didn't. I mean, hot streaks happen, but we've had in the last 2 weeks, I can't even count the number of stocks that we've had that have gone up $8 to $10 a share. And, those types of moves are awesome. So at this point, my strategy is going to continue to be the same. It's obviously working well. And when I see a stock with breaking news, I've got a long bias, and I'm going to be looking for jumping in. Half dollar, whole dollar, first pullback, whatever the case is. I've been doing both, and I'm going to try to keep the pedal to the metal and to be aggressive during this window, because this window will be open just for a limited period of time. When it closes, that's it. Now, for all I know, today could be the last day of it, but I don't see any reason that it would, because we had really good action this morning. And in fact, last Monday and Tuesday were a little slower. We didn't have huge moves in the morning, but then, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we had some great action. So the fact that we had good action today is definitely good to see. Just have to be careful, because what can happen is traders start jumping on anything that's moving. And if you jump on stuff that's low quality, well, it's not going to sustain the move. And then it's going to probably do a round trip. It's going to do a total reversal. And shorts are going to be really aggressive to hit those. And if you start thinking, oh, look at all these rejections, but all of them are on stocks that had no news, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of not super surprising. Look, sometimes we'll have a stock with no news that will hold up and go higher. Don't usually expect it, but it does happen. So I don't want to rule that out entirely. But I think that I'm going to be better off continuing to focus as much as I can on stocks that actually have news. Because even those sometimes won't go. But if it doesn't have news, I really don't think I can expect as much in this market. In this market, stocks with news with floats of under a million shares are where we've been seeing some really big percentage gains. So that's the area where I'm going to be focused. And, look, it's possible that tomorrow we won't have any stocks that fall within that criteria. And tomorrow could be a no trade day. Or I doubt it, but it could be. Or it could just be that tomorrow is more some base hits, and I make as much as I can on the base hits, and I'm content with that. And then maybe Wednesday we get some really good moves again. Or tomorrow, because today was so hot pre-market, the stocks that have floats of under 5 million or under a million shares that, I mean, some of these companies have, for what it's worth, PR teams that are paying attention to the market and are going to be like, this is the time to put out headlines. The market is hot right now. This is the time, and they might try to take advantage of this hot cycle, which, as long as I guess they're putting out legitimate news, it's fine. But also have to be on the lookout for companies recycling old headlines. You see someone recycling an old headline, you got to be careful with that. S&P 500 overall, really strong right now. Market is, we're positioned really well, and we're coming into, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, we're so close to the election, right? So I can't believe how close it is, but this is a big election, in the United States. So it's going to be, this next week is going to be interesting. I'm going to try to do the very best I can over these next, few days before the election, and then, the election might send things kind of wild depending on what happens. It's, they say it's, I mean, they say it's very, very close right now, but who knows? They say a lot of things. So it would be better if it's not close. That way, it's really, you can't possibly object to the results. It's a blowout, and whoever you're in favor of, I mean, everyone's got a strong opinion on it. And so, not to get political, but I think the market right now, we know historically that markets have actually returned higher percentages when a Democrat has been in office, but it's a sort of a contradiction because the markets prefer the more open market, less government intervention that comes with conservative or Republicans in office. So I think if we have Trump or Republican Party take control the presidency, then short-term market's going to rally, and then over the next 4 years, it may not perform as well as if there was a Democrat in office, but I think if he does get elected, we'll see a rally in the market in November. So that's what I'm thinking, and could be wrong, but anyway, so. Hold on to your hats. It's going to be a wild ride these next few weeks, but I'll be showing up every single day, no matter where I am. Mexico, doesn't matter. I'm showing up every single day. I'm going to trade. I'm going to try to capitalize on the volatility because that's our job. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you found this episode interesting, I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you guys download my 5 pillars of stock selection. And if you want to check out a 2-week trial, you can watch over my shoulder while I'm trading every single morning. We'd love to have you join us. So we'll put a link for a 2-week trial in the description. And I'll see you guys back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. So let me remind you, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk and always practice in a simulator before you put real money on the line. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you for the next episode real soon.